In this video, we're going to take the time to go ahead and actually work with the Java Standard Tag Library or the core library. So what we're going to do is take a look at how we can download that library, go ahead and install it on our Tomcat container, and then set up our build path on our project so that we do include that library. And then we'll have some tags in place already in our project that we can see this up and running. So what we'll need is the Java Standard Tag Library.war file. Go ahead and get that from the resources and import it into the project directory. And then you should have that up and running, and it should show up with an error in it, basically because the core library is already referenced and we don't have that installed at this point. So once you get that running, what we'll do is take a look at the link.txt file, which is included in that project. And you can see there are two links there. One is for the JSTL 1.2 jar, and one is for the documentation, which we looked at both of those briefly in our overview in the lesson previous to this one, and discussed that we would be using them here. So you can go ahead and copy this jar file and download it. What I have already done is set this up so that I can easily download that file by setting a bookmark to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and select open a new window, which will essentially show that I'm on that link and allow me to download this. So let's go ahead and keep this. And then I already have folders up and ready for where that's going to land and how I'm going to move it around. So I'm going to go ahead and just close these. And here what we'll do is go to our downloads, and we can see that our JSTL 1.2 was downloaded. And what we're going to do is we need to get to our Tomcat library directory, which is going to be under the program files, Apache software, Tomcat, and then library. And you'll see that in there are many different libraries, which we've already done the MySQL before if you followed along with that video. So let's go ahead and just cut it right out of our downloads. We won't need it there anymore. We can paste it then into our directory. Here, we'll go ahead and give it the permissions, and you'll see JSTL 1.2.jar is going to be in that folder ready to go. So once that's in place, that will allow our projects to reference that as we build and run our projects. So let's look at the index page. And what we'll see is the index page is set up already to use the core library. It's set up with a tag library directive, which lives right underneath our page directive. So we've already worked with the page directive. Now we have our tag library directive, which includes the prefix for whatever our tag library is going to be referenced at. And we'll see that in our code as we reference those tags. That prefix is used. And it has a URI. Now the URI is nothing more than a namespace. It's not an actual location. So we're not going to actually browse out every time we're using this to java.sun.com/JSP/JSTL/core. That's simply the namespace used when this core tag library was built, and so therefore we're referencing it here. And when we work with our own tag libraries in the next section, we'll see this come into play more. But for now, we can trust that this URI is what we need, and we'll have this tag library directive across all of our JSP pages where we're using the core tag. So we'll be using this a lot. And this page also includes an import statement, which simply is replacing our JSP include standard action with a core tag import. So you can just see it's another way to do the same thing we've done before, but this gives us access to the core tags, and it also will help us to see that in fact our code is working as expected. So the last thing we need to do is simply go into our project anywhere on the project and right-click and select Build Path, and we're going to go ahead and configure the build path. Now, just like we included the MySQL jar before, we need to reference our standard library jar. So we'll add our external jar, and we'll browse to our directory, which is going to be underneath Program Files and Apache Software, Tomcat, Library. And we're going to grab the JSTL 1.2, open that, select OK, and our error goes away. And we can see that we have a couple of warnings still saying it's unknown, but our project is up and running and working. So let's go ahead and try to run our project now and see that our imports are in fact working as expected. So we'll just go ahead and select Finish, and our server will start up, and the new tag library will be included, and our page will go ahead and render the page just like we would expect with the site is awesome, welcome, here's our returning users login we went through last time, etc. But everything's in place. The footer, the header, and the middle part of the page is all in place as expected. Our import tag is working, and therefore we know that our standard tag library is up and running as expected. So we're ready to move on, and that wraps up our quick overview of how we can get our tag library downloaded and installed and our project configured to use it.